Your brown eyes in the moonlight, see me like a star in the sky. With every flicker, you make me skipper. Help me demystify. I've been waiting for the time my senses standing by, short of a battle cry. Oh my, you made me see the light, you made me show the world. The music makes us stronger, tune into something right. The meaning comes alive every hour, so divine. Can I thank my stars, you're mine. Now music makes us stronger, tune into something right. Yeah. The meaning comes alive every hour, so divine. Can I thank my stars, you're mine. Can I thank my stars, you're mine. Tune into something right. My, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my.
Nice to finally meet you, man.
Finally! What the heck?
It only took, oh, sorry, let me turn this off. It only took, what, like 3-4 months for us to schedule this in?
I think it's longer than that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
And yeah, I'm excited, dude, because I apologize because we scheduled and rescheduled, and either way, we finally made it.
It's all good. It's all good. We all had stuff to do, so I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're talking.
And in fact, this morning I was thinking, all of your friends have been on the podcast, like Mahesh, Vinod Krishnan, Rohit. Rohit was there like 2 weeks ago or something.
2 weeks ago, yeah, I heard. He's in here right now, I think.
And it is coming next weekend.
Amazing! That's fantastic.
Kevin Doucette is coming in a couple of weeks.
Excellent.
I haven't spared anyone, I think.
Well, everyone wants to talk to you, so I'm really glad.
Dude, thanks again for accepting my invite, man. And the best part is we kept in touch, although it took a few months. So I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for your kindness and your understanding in various instances.
Come on. Life happens.
And dude, I've got a lot of things to talk about, but before I dive into things, let's go to the absolute basics. Let's go with your childhood. What was your upbringing like, and then where did the music influence come from, and then what did you do to pursue it? Things like that. I would love to know.
Yeah. I think my story is somewhat similar to a lot of South Asians who were born in India and then moved to the U.S. while they were at a young age, and then grew up, understanding both cultures quite intimately. So I started learning Carnatic music from the age of 3.
Wow.
In Bangalore. So I'm originally from Bangalore.
Same.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay. Yeah. So I started learning when I was 3. Thanks to my grandparents and thanks to my parents, they was like, "Oh, this kid keeps, humming a lot of tunes at this young age. Let's see if we can make something of it." So that's kind of how it started, and it's just I think at a young age, music is the one thing that has always grounded me. In times of happiness, in times of turmoil, in any times really. So I think I related with music the most out of any other activities, although I've done like everything else that a kid would do. So to sports, that didn't work. And then I started to learn a lot of instruments, which I was super passionate about. So I really got into drums. I did a little bit of mridangam, but nothing to really like go home, to talk about. But it's just the idea of singing, the idea of beats, the idea of music has been imbued in me since a very young age. I moved to the U.S., to the East Coast, to a city called Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when I was 7 or 8 years old. So that was about 3rd grade. So that was an interesting time because my parents and I didn't know what we were kind of getting into. We moved for an opportunity and we took it. And the times over there, or during those times, it was hard for me to continue my Carnatic lessons. I'm very thankful for my parents because they knew that I had a passion for music, but they never forced me to they never forced a teacher upon me just because I'm in Pittsburgh or anything like that. So I felt most comfortable with the same teacher that I still learn from today. His name is A.R.Rahman. He's also from Bangalore. He continues to teach me till this day. We have 1 or 2 lessons a week, every week over Skype. But these were obviously this 1998, 1998 onwards. So the idea of Skype, etc., wasn't really a thing. So and international calling was like $5 a minute or something crazy. So what we used to do was Rameshwar would take a 90-minute cassette, record basically 2 songs, like 1 on each side, and then he would physically mail it over to the U.S. I would listen to it and record my voice over the same tape and send it back. So by the time I learned 1 song, it used to take 2 months, give or all the mailing process, etc. So my musical upbringing, at least in Carnatic music, was slow while I was in the U.S., but through grade school, so 3rd all the way up till 12th grade, I used to spend all the summers back in India. So June through August, 2.5 to 3 months at a time, I used to stay with my grandparents, and that's where I really, really had a lot of focused Carnatic training for those 3 months at a time. So it was kind of like, you do a semester of college within 3 months, or you go to summer school. That's what it felt like for me. But that was my musical experience. So the Carnatic wise, that's how I was brought up. And obviously I identify myself as completely Indian and completely American at the same time, because that's how I've been brought up. There was a lot of times when I didn't know how to identify myself for quite a while, but I've accepted or understood myself as this person who is 2 different personalities altogether. Maybe that's why I'm a Gemini, but who knows?
My sister is.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, Carnatic training aside, I was in every musical and every music course through grade school, all the way all the way to 12th grade. I was the drum major of my marching band. I was part of the drum line, so I used to play the bass and then toms. So it was a very musical upbringing, both educationally and from the family side too. I can't remember, or I can't even tell you how many times we would listen to music, mostly AR stuff, in the car while we explore the country. We start off in Pittsburgh. We're just learning. My parents are just learning how to drive in this brand new country, and we get a car. We put the latest cassette in the car, and we just go for hours and hours and hours. Mostly get lost because we were still trying to figure out how to read a map to get from like Pittsburgh to wherever it is that we were going. But those memories will always stay with me because music was the background for every single experience for us, from start to finish.
So good, love it. And do you have a favorite raga, or you might have more than one? I take it.
Yeah, I do have quite a few favorite ragas, but Kalyani is great, Hamsadwani is great, but for me, I think I focus more on the tune more than figuring out what raga it is, what talam it is. It's probably because of the way I learned Carnatic music. It wasn't strictly by the books per se, right? So because of the time difference or the time it took to learn every single raga, I think I learned from a more sonic point of view. So if someone asks me what's your favorite raga, I would rather sing a song that appeals to me or makes me feel a certain way more than say, oh, I like this raga because of X, Y, and Z. I know people may disagree with the way I feel about explaining my favorite ragas, etc. But I know, to me, I'm a strong believer of each person having their own experience or their own unique perspective on how they learn music. This is how I learn music.
Yeah.
I'm now going back. Honestly, I'm going back to the basics. It's almost like, you go through grade, you go through college, you start a job, you're very successful, and then you have a kid, and then basically you have to start the whole thing over because you're relearning the ABCs all the way up until algebra, whatever it is with your kid. I haven't gone through those experiences yet, but that's what I feel like about myself. I'm now going back and honestly becoming my own researcher and going back to figure out what those ragas are, why certain sonic elements appeal to me, or why I veer to those directions more. So I think maybe when we do another podcast session, let's say a year from now, I'll be able to sit down and talk about one raga for the long time possible, probably.
I hope it doesn't really take another year to bring it back. I'm sure it's going to be another few months. So, how should I put it? So, is there a raga that makes you happy, or sonic-wise, put it that way?
Yeah, I mean, Kalyani is beautiful. Hamsadwani is always beautiful.
Yeah.
Arikambodi is always amazing. But right now, my teacher is actually teaching me songs about songs that relate to the Navagrahas. So every day is a certain song. So we have classes on Wednesday, and he taught me the song that is for Wednesday. So I'm going through that way. So it's a really interesting educational journey, and
nice.
I can't wait to dive deeper into those.
Of course. And something interesting that I heard when Rohit was on the podcast, right? He said he goes through phases with each of the ragas. Like, for example, he goes through a kapi phase for some time, and then it's a love-hate relationship between him and the ragas.
Yeah.
Does that happen with you, or is that?
I think I would go more in the way of earworms. There are certain songs, certain ragas, certain pop culture songs, English, Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, whatever it is. There are some songs that literally stick with me to the point where I wake up and it's still playing in my head to the point where I'm like, I need to listen to another song so that this gets out of my head for a while. But that's what I call earworm, and that's when I know that whoever, classical, non-classical, has whoever's written this song was really smart or knew what they were doing to have the earworm in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Dude, I'm a sucker for Carnatic music. I've told this to Rohit as well when he came on the podcast, that my grandma used to be a music teacher in the past, and I regret not learning from her. But however, if someone says that they are from a Carnatic background, I can't resist asking them to sing something in Carnatic. Dude, please sing anything you like.
Yeah, my most favorite song is actually in Ramalika. My grandmother taught me this song, and my mom used to sing this as a lullaby when to put me to sleep as a kid, and it's stuck with me ever since. People who are near and dear to me are probably very bored of me singing this song, but this song still is one of those songs where it's an earworm, like I mentioned before. But this is a good earworm where I have never asked to listen to another song because I can listen to this all the time. It's Sri Chakra Raja in
Wow, I love it.
Yeah. Put this on.
I've heard the song in my childhood too. And then have you heard the Maharajpura Santanam, is it?
Yeah.
His version of this song?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. My dad used to play this like crazy in those old tape recorders.
Shri Chakraj Simhasaneshwari Shri Lalita Ambike Shri Chakraj Simhasaneshwari Shri Lalita Ambike Bhuvaneshwari Agama Veda Kalamaya Rupini Agama Veda Kalamaya Rupini Akhila Charachara Janani Narayani Naga Kankana Nataraja Manohari Jnana Vigneshwari Rajarajeshwari Palavidamayuni Adavum Padavum Palavidamayuni Adavum Padavum Adikondadum Manvar Padamalachudavu Adikondadum Manvar Padamalachudavu Ulagamul Dunyana Tagamurakanavum Ulagamul Dunyana Tagamurakanavum Oru Nilai Taruvaai Kanchi Kameshwari Oru Nilai Taruvaai Kanchi Kameshwari உழண்டு திருந்த என்னை உத்தமனாக்கி வைத்தாய் உயரிய பெரியோருடன் ஒன்றிட கூட்டி வைத்தாய் நிழலென தொடர்ந்த முன்னோர் கொடுமையை நீக்க செய்தாய் நிழலென தொடர்ந்த முன்னோர் கொடுமையை நீக்க செய்தாய் Nitya Kalyani Bhavani Padmeshwari Nitya Kalyani Bhavani Padmeshwari Tumba Pudalilittu Tumba Pudalilittu தூயவனாக்கி வைத்தாய் துன்ப புடத்திலிட்டு தூயவனாக்கி வைத்தாய், தொடர்ந்த முன்மாயம் நீங்கி பிறந்த பயனை தந்தாய், தொடர்ந்த முன்மாயம் நீக்கி பிறந்த பயனை தந்தாய், அன்பை புகட்டி உந்தன் ஆடலை காண செய்தாய், அன்பை புகட்டி உந்தன் ஆடலை காண செய்தாய், அடைக்கலம் நீயே அம்மா, அடைக்கலம் நீயே அம்மா அகிலாண்டேஸ்வரி, அடைக்கலம் நீயே அம்மா அகிலாண்டேஸ்வரி, ஸ்ரீ ஜக்கராஜ சிம்ஹாசனேஸ்வரி, ஸ்ரீ லலிதா அம்பிகே ಭುವನೇಶ್ವರಿ.
Beautiful, man. Amazing. I love it. Yeah, you almost got tears in my eyes because I mean it just took me back, brought back all my childhood memories where I'm running around the house and my party would make coffee in the kitchen and my dad will play the song and my party will come to the living room just when Maharaj Purasantanam starts singing. Yeah, oh my God, wow, amazing. I love it.
It's incredible what sound does to your own memory and what it brings out, right? So it's just
Indeed.
Every time I try to sing this song, straight through with talam, I'm not able to because my emotions kind of get the best of me, and I'm completely taken back to times when my grandmother, who basically brought me up until I was 7 or 8, until we moved to the U.S. There's so many memories that just it's like it's in fast forward. While I'm singing the song, they're just all like racing through, exactly like you said. Yeah. So it's one of my favorites.
Because I still remember my party used to be a music teacher, as I told you, and then she always used to tell me, why don't you come upstairs when I'm teaching classes and then learn something. And I never found the value of it then. I was too little to understand, and then now I regret. Anyway, dude,
you don't have to.
I love it.
Just, like it's that's what I'm saying, right? There's never an end for music. So if you're still interested, and it doesn't matter if you don't want to sing or whatever it is, but just like me, you come on the journey with me, and we'll go back and start listening to ragas, and we'll figure it out.
Thanks, buddy.
There was so many times when I almost felt embarrassed when someone would come and ask, like, what's your favorite raga, or can you recognize this song that this person is singing? I was unable to, but I'm okay with it because music means something very special to me, and it's only me. That's how I appreciate it. That's how I take it, and I choose to go back and learn the almost basics into like lecture level notes on every raga at this time. So I don't mind being the researcher now, 25, 30 years after I've started learning Carnatic music. So my point is to you, there's never better time to start than now. So you can always start with.
For sure. Actually, just when you described something just occurred in my mind. So since you go with the sonic, right? So does that mean when, let's say, a song from Sir Studio comes out and it's purely Carnatic based, and it kind of sounds like one of the ragas that you actually love, so are you naturally inclined towards that? Is that an expected behavior, if I can say it?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and actually quite amazing, because I'm gonna able to I'll be able to tell you something that's probably very unique to how Sir connects with the artists that he works with. So we all know that all the songs that he goes into or develops, let's say there is a Carnatic sounding song like Rasali, right?
Yeah.
There are Rasali in itself is a Ragamalika because I don't think he ever follows one particular raga in any song that he creates.
Correct.
And that's incredible, but but from what he does and all the intricate variations that he goes into the middle of the song, and somehow magically comes back to the top line, the top line tune. So I think from Sir's perspective, and from how I take music when it is presented to me, and there's a new song, I have to sit and make sense out of it in the the 2-hour session that we might have. For me, again, it's all about the feel. It's all about how the song affects me and how the lyrics, once I understand it. I give particular attention to making sure whatever language that I sing, although I'm a multilingual singer, I can sing Telugu, Hindi, Punjabi, whatever it is. But I can, because I am, I was brought up on the Tamil side of my family, I understand Tamil lyrics the most. But because I've learned Carnatic music, I can pronounce Telugu lyrics very, very well. So although I can't understand a lot of the words, I make sure that I speak with either the lyricist or someone who is intimately familiar with the language, and make sure that I understand every nuance of the word. So if I'm singing a particular word, I want to know why I'm singing it and what it should, and how it makes me feel once I understand it. So for me, it's not necessarily just the tune, it's the entire package. So once I understand that package, what I output from here onto the computer is what comes of it, and is understanding of the entire package.
Amazing. Wow. Great. And of course, I'm going to deep dive into a number of songs, but we will go with the flow right now. Before I do that, so you're a strategy consultant by the day? And
yeah, actually, I am a strategy consultant by the day, but that is now part-time. I've been,
right.
I dove into music full-time for the last years now. And I've been working on my own body of work. It's in all English, but it encompasses all the genres that we're talking today. So it's like I said, I'm completely Indian, I'm completely American. So those influences, I didn't even have to try. It's just what comes when I produce the music. So it was my, like I've been featured on. I've been lucky to have been featured on a number of productions with a lot of other people, and those have been successful. But this has been the first time when, outside of my family or my close friends, fans or just the existing world out there can have a listen to who I really am, what the lyrics that I write and the lyrics that I co-write with my wife, what they really mean to me. So this first project, it's been coming out in the form of singles, and most recently, just a couple of weeks ago, it came out. I released an EP. So I wrote 9 songs for this first album. 8 of the songs have released. We're finalizing the mix and master for the 9th song, so that's going to come out in early Feb. So that first chapter is already done now, and I'm already working on chapters 2 through 13, whatever it is, at the moment.
Okay.
And I've made a pledge myself and the people who follow me and just the social world out there that regardless of what happens, I'm going to write, produce, record, mix, master, and publish one new single a month. Every month
yeah,
for this entire year. So it's been a fantastic journey.
It's going to keep you on your toes.
It already is. I'll tell you that. It's not nerve-wracking because it's what I love to do. So I this is what I focus most of my day on, and I'll still get a couple projects here and there from my past life as an entertainment consultant. Like I went to Carnegie Mellon for a master's in entertainment industry management, and that's what actually brought me out to LA to start working on the business side of the entertainment industry. So I helped a lot of brands become relevant in popular culture for about 8 years. So those learnings from the brands I've taken as my own artist. So I'm basically treating myself as the subject and as the brand, and I'm operating a one-stop shop for everything from production to marketing. So that's definitely keeping me on my toes.
Amazing. And How has the journey been? Because apart from singing, you also delved into the music production side of things as well. So I take it there must have been a lot of learning along the way. As you know, going to the absolute basics of working on Logic Pro and things like that, just talk me through it. How did you just go about learning to do what you wanted to, let's say, achieve?
Yeah. In essence, when you have no other choice but to do it by yourself, you tend to learn quite quickly. So I've always dabbled in production. I've always, again, it goes back to sonic, the sonic state of mind from right. So I always know what I want to record. I always know how I want to record it. But there are times when I don't know how to translate what's in here and in here and in here onto onto Logic Pro or any DAW that people work on. So, but I just out of a necessity, even before I went into working on music full time, when I used to work on singles myself or collaborations with other people, it had to learn how to do this. So it kind of started quite early on when I started to do my own covers on YouTube and collaborate with other people. So it started off with the most simple of recording devices, which was Audacity, which was a freeware software, and nothing near this mic. It was just a Logitech computer mic that I used, and I made the best of it. Because sometimes it's the best thing not to know the most amount of information about a certain subject, because you're just like, these are the resources that I have. Let's go for it. Let's do what we can with it. And a lot of times you'll come up with a lot of creative ways to put your ideas onto Logic or whatever DAW you're working on. So it started off like that. But for the last 3 years, when I knew that I had to learn how to produce, I had to learn everything from the very basics of like how to automate things, to picking the right plugins on Logic Pro and making sure I know my way around basic EQing and mixing and all that stuff. It was hours and hours and hours of YouTubing. It was reading, talking to my circle of friends who are mix engineers and mastering engineers and recording engineers, and learning everything about from like what a sound card is, or
indeed,
why I need all this equipment in the house, and it's just why can't my laptop just record it? It was that basic when I wanted to go into making this album.
Yeah.
But now I know amps, and I know what frequency my high pass needs to be, and which mic works best for my type of voice. Not all mics are the same, so it may be trivial to a lot of people, but again, I'll go back to the moral of the story, which is when you are presented with a situation where you need to do it, you tend to do it.
Beautiful. And you're doing everything that you just mentioned all by yourself in terms of recording, mixing, mastering, production.
In the beginning, yes.
Yeah, right.
I basically recorded the entire album, pseudo mixed and mastered it by myself, because I had no other choice. And then when I started to share the body of work in a private SoundCloud account to like a mix friend that I know and a master friend that I know and someone else in industry, etc., they gave me some pointers, and we started working together. And then I found my I'll call him my like music soulmate. His name is Sharat. He goes by Nagari as his artist name. He's worked with Indian Raga a whole bunch. We have yet to meet in person, by the way, in the 3 years that we've worked together. But he and I co-worked and redeveloped a lot of aspects of all of the songs, because he's a very good producer and a mixer. So he got on board, and then I had a lot of instrumentalist friends who came on board and say, okay, hey, I can do this live for you. You don't have to program this on a keyboard. So it's just like my family that is this album expanded from just this one person and then two people, which was my wife and I, and then it expanded to a small group of like 5 or 6 people. So just seeing my own evolution from from how I started to how I understand things now and how I know how to record properly. Look, I can't be recording like this, and this is the right distance. You learn so many things on the fly and so immediately. I just feel so lucky that I have been even provided this time and this opportunity where I have the support of my family. I have the support of my wife to say, "Hey, it's okay. I know this is what you want to do. So go do it." And there's not a lot of people who are lucky enough to have this support system to say, "This is really scary when you've had a paying job for close to a decade, and now you're going to stop, and you're going to try this thing out by yourself." And actually, Sir had initial conversations about saying, "Hey, these were times when we were just recording for I and and all that stuff, and we were just getting to know each other a little bit more." And I said, "Sir, I'm afraid to take the dive and then go into the deep end." And I remember him very clearly telling me that there's only one way to do it, is to jump. That's when things really started to come into place for me, from an emotional and a mental sense, to have the confidence to dive into this and do it full time.
Right. And so your wife is a musician too, is it?
She's not a musician, but she is a fantastic writer. So she and I songwrite many of the songs together. A couple of the songs from the album are completely written by her. So it's again, I'm just lucky to have found her and have someone who I can relate with and explain myself to and share all these ideas and actually collaborate just in the same room all the time. It's great.
And someone who supports you in your journey.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, you obviously took the plunge from, full-time job and making that in part-time and then making music as full-time. How was the transition? That phase must have been, how should I put it? Challenging is not the word that I really want to use, but how did you go about in that phase where you had to make that shift, and then the things that were running in your mind, and then how did you combat all those? And it's not easy because, like, for example, I mean, podcast keeps me on my toes and so many other things, but I could never imagine myself leaving my full-time IT job and then pursuing this full-time. But that's me. I just basically want to hear from you so that myself and a lot of others get inspired. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever have quantified when I made the leap to do this full time what it actually entailed, because it's a life experience, right? So when I quit the job, I said, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 months writing the entire album, and by June, I quit in December, right? And I said by June, my first album is going to be out, and it's going to be great. We're going to promote the crap out of it, and we're going to be famous, and all this stuff that people who don't really know what the experience is like think about. What I didn't know was that it took me 6 months to actually get out of the rut of, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Is this actually going to work? There's so much that you have to get over in your own mental self, and the walls that you've put up only by yourself, no one else.
Correct.
And so it took me almost 6 months to develop the headspace to say, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to the recording booth, and I'm going to create something. And when you go into the recording booth, it's almost like yoga, right? Everyone says you have to do pranayama, you have to do breathing exercises, and that's the only way you clear your head. I don't know what happened, but it took me that long for my head to clear and to have the headspace and to begin pouring my emotions out on paper, because I had never done that before, right? So it wasn't just like, I'm going to go become a playback singer, or I'm going to move to India and try to work with a whole bunch of people as much as possible to get onto film, get onto tracks. I said to myself, I'm going to make my own body of work with basically no like label support or anything like that. Just do my own thing, develop this body of work, and then see what happens. So I don't think anyone could have imagined like everything that you need to go through mentally to come up to a point where you're able to write clearly, develop and put music or produce a song that relates to you more than anyone else first. So those first 6 months were definitely tough. But after that, it was just like, okay, song 1 is done. Song 2 is about this emotion, and you start diving deeper, and you write drafts and you edit. It's just and you apply a lot of the things that you learned from your work experience, right? So like, how do you process manage and time manage and project manage yourself? Project managing yourself, at least for me, is one of the hardest things to do. I can project manage like 20 brands at the same time, but it's very hard to put the same things that I'm telling other people to do onto myself. That's another thing that, took me a while to realize. But, the fast forward 3 years later, and here I am with the headspace where I'm able to write a song in a day and produce a song and have my core team of people mix and master it for me and push it out there. So it's like, now it's become a well-oiled machine, much like your podcast is. So like, now I'm sure between your first podcast and our conversation now, you have a process flow, and you know like what to expect and how to go about editing things and how long things take to process from start to finish. So it's just now it has become like riding a bicycle. But before, I was stumbling and fumbling and falling and trying to figure out my own self for the longest time, and I learned that it's okay to be confused, and now I've learned about how I can write about what I'm thinking about and about my emotions onto paper. So that in itself is my own version of meditation and pranayama and all the yoga stuff that a lot of people tell us to do.
Yeah.
That is my escape of shutting the world and giving myself the space to create.
So good. I love it. So amazing. So Berkeley, that's how should I put it? You met your friends over there? Should I say it? Some of your friends?
I've never attended Berklee College of Music, but I think through like Kevin and Rohit and a whole bunch of people who've been to Berklee, I've had the pleasure of knowing a lot of people from Berklee. Actually, my mix engineer Gary Purohit is from Berklee as well. So
right.
He is just another friend that I met from all these people. So it's just although it's a passive connection to the university, I feel like I know Berklee, even though I've never been to Berklee. So it's been great. I've had a couple of chances to work with people like Annette, and Rohit and I are really good friends now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gary's like my right hand man now with all the tracks that I've been working on. So it's been it's Kevin also is from Berklee, so it's just like. Somehow all the connections go back to Berklee, and although I didn't go there, I feel like I kind of, earned like an online degree from Berklee or something. So yeah, it's a passive connection, but I definitely feel like it's a strong connection.
Nice, and meeting Sir for the first time happened around that time then?
So I met Sir during my grad school days.
Right.
So grad school was 2011 to 2013. So I met him because I was an intern at a company called QKey, which is a Bangalore-based company. And I was working with the CEO at the time where I believed in their mission, I believed in their vision, I believed in having QKey's platform at the time was to have this like baseline area where all creatives from India can be in this platform and have other people like AR Sir, etc. kind of it turned into like a LinkedIn for artists, basically.
Yeah.
Like you like go in and say, I want to find this type of singer, I want to this type of painter or artist, whatever it is. So I really loved what they were trying to do. They had just launched at the time. So I had gone to Bangalore just for like Christmas break or whatever for a couple of weeks, and I had sent the CEO a LinkedIn message saying, hey, I really like what you guys are doing, and I feel like no, his name was Punacha at the time.
Right.
Punacha Mansoya.
Okay.
So I emailed him and said, hey, I really like what you guys are doing, and I feel like this platform could have a huge impact for all South Asians living in the United States and in North America and and beyond. So let me become your like virtual research intern to do market research for you for the US. And he said, great, let's work it out. So he and I had a direct relationship where I was basically his intern, and I was doing a lot of research for him. And that was one of my internships for grad school. So there was one time where he made a business trip over to LA, which is where I was at the time. And he gave me a call and he said, hey, I'm meeting AR Sir for lunch, and I think you should come with me. My phone like slipped from my hands, it fell down. You know, all the things that you see in movies happened to me because that's the last thing that I expected. I only wanted to become an intern for him because I believed in the program and believed in what the company was doing. And yes, of course, I knew that AR Sir was one of the people who were a part of launching the company, etc. But I never expected anything even remotely close to what happened on that day. So I'm definitely blessed and super lucky to have been at the right place at the right time. And you know, he said, let's meet him for lunch, and that's how it started. So I didn't know where he lived, and he ended up like living really close to where my place was at the time. So I just like it was all crazy. So we met him for lunch that day, and he asked me, you know, what my story is, and I gave a very quick background about what I do, and I thought that was it. I just came with Punacha because we were talking about work or whatever it is, and I didn't think that I would ever see Sir again after that day. So I was like, okay, this is, you know, check off my list. I'm you know, this is one of the bucket list items of my life. I just went about my life, and then I got a call, I think like a day or two after, saying, hey, we might need you to do some background vocals for a project. Would you be available? Phone fell on once again. This time it was in the office. But I was like, yes, can I come after 5 o'clock because I'm still in the office? You know, so it started like that, and that's kind of how our you know, relationship with each other started. So I go in there and the song was Idanar Varail, and it ended up not being the background vocals, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I was obviously as nervous as anyone would be going in and realizing who you're working with for the first time. But the thing that he does so beautifully well is that he makes you feel like a collaborator rather than someone who is called in to do or to put their voice on some part of a project and then leave.
Get it.
That puts your mind and your soul and your emotion at ease so much that's the only way to get the right emotions onto the track. So, of course, I was nervous for I would say the first 2 minutes of seeing him again, and then right after that, I don't know what he did. It was either just his demeanor, the way he spoke to me, and the way he made everyone in the room feel comfortable, that I immediately felt like a collaborator, and I felt like I could share my ideas with him to say, hey, what if we try this for this line, you know? And I wasn't afraid to ask and do things like that. So it's so amazing the way he makes people feel, and I'm sure you've heard this from every other person that you've spoken to about how comfortable he makes people feel. And it just opens up so many possibilities for what you can create, you know, with each other doing in a session.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And was it a late night recording or what? I'm just curious, that's all.
It started at 6. I'm not
Finished
sure
at
how
7 a.m. in
long.
the morning.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long I was there. It was a while at least. Obviously I honestly cannot say how long I was there because
Yeah.
it was such a cloud nine moment of like, oh my god, what am I doing right now? So it's just like. Obviously, like no one wants to leave, but at the end of the project, I was just so happy. And again, even at that moment, I'm like, okay, here's like 8 other boxes that are ticked. I'm good. See you in the next life. Have a wonderful. That's obviously I'm saying all this to myself in my head, not to him.
Yeah.
But like it was fantastic, and that's how the relationship started. And he calls me again for Ai. Showkali, and then I showed up, and then Pele showed up.
Yeah.
So it was and is just an incredible working relationship with Sir.
Very nice. Great.
Yeah.
Tell me about Shokali.
Yeah.
What was the recording like? And I'm just curious because when this song came out, I was so glued to it, and then it's still one of my favorites. I love it, and I still do play it when I ride my motorbike and stuff. Not deliberately, but I have a certain playlist where this song does get featured in that. And then, just tell me anything that comes to your mind.
Shokali was probably one of the most interesting projects that I've ever been part of because like everyone knows the tune of the song now, like how the vocals go, but I got just the instrumentals where it started off by going and for a minute I'm just like, I don't know how to sing this song, but we just worked together, and it's one, it was sonic identification, 2 lyric identification, 3 making sure the package, I understood the whole thing from left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So once I realized what the song is about and how it's like a song about swag, and the bike is only an alliteration to the character being played. So it's just, once I understood all that, I knew that like I had to come in there and sing like I knew, I'm so meaning me as in the character. The character is so confident in what he's talking about. So that's how it started off, and we tried a few variations of how the lines should go and how the chorus line should go, and ultimately what you hear now is the final product. And I was ecstatic when it came out because it's such a unique song. It's not just like it's not a what you want to call a traditional song is, but so I feel really lucky to have been part of genuinely unique tracks. I think with Sir, because Shokali I think was one of its kind, like with the rap and the way the tune was in, and how he progressed the track from start to finish.
Right.
Same with Ayla. Like this, I honestly had the same emotion with Ayla, but I don't want to jump.
No, please do. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Same thing. Like all of a sudden, I mean, toward the end, how we turn into that. Me and Natalie turned the song into this like operatic ending. That was. I don't think that was planned, but.
Right.
At least on my end, it wasn't planned. But because Natalie is like this wonderful opera singer, she has so many operatic runs in that entire song. All of a sudden, we were like, "Hey, do you know how to sing opera?" And I said, "Yeah, I've actually been trained in opera back in school." And then we said, let's try the that crazy thing in the end. It was such a fun collaborative project, and incredible memories even with that song.
Amazing, so good. That's one of my favorites as well. I love it. And you also worked on Pele, Birth of the Legend.
Yeah.
What was it like, buddy?
It was, oh my gosh.
Anna Beatrice was also part of that. Kevin was also part of that.
Anna, Kevin, a whole bunch of other people actually. But I get a call from Sir, and he's like, "Hey, do you know how to speak Portuguese?" I said, "No, sir, I don't know how to speak Portuguese, but I am very good with accents, and if I learn how to speak something phonetically, I'm fairly confident that I'll be able to pronounce words correctly. And he was like, okay, let's try this. And then I go over, and Anna, who wrote the song, is sitting there. That's the first time I met Anna. Now she and I are like one of the closest friends. So like, we're sitting there, and I told Anna, like, Anna, I don't know Portuguese, but if you tell me how to pronounce things very slowly, I will write the phonetic versions of each word onto a piece of paper and make sure that I cross-check everything with you. Make sure my 3 steps of sonic understanding, lyric understanding, and making sure the package is put together, make sure that you give me the sign-off as these lyrics sound like a Portuguese guy came and sang Portuguese. So it was a couple of intense hours of me learning the lyrics and working with Anna.
Yeah.
And we just went for it. We just went for end that song, and it's one of the most favorite songs ever for me.
Sure. Yeah. It's such an amazing soundtrack as well, man. And yeah, it always takes me to another world when I just play it. Man, there's so many tracks in it.
It's incredible. I can't even begin to imagine how many stems there are on there. Maybe 200, maybe 300, not 300. Probably like 150 to 200 stems in there with all the elements. But it was such an incredible project. And we had to, the very few people that were in the studio had to make sure that this song sounded, the idea was to get this song sounding like the entire football stadium was singing the song. So that's why you hear this like epic, music line and all the vocals. And it wasn't just me; it was a whole bunch of people who were part of the vocals over there to create that thick sound. So it was a fantastic experience.
And that was in his LA studio, was it?
Yeah, all of these songs were recorded in the LA studio. I think I recorded the Telugu version of Showkali in Chennai, but everything else was done in LA.
Right. What's his LA studio like? Just out of curiosity.
It's like a legitimate studio. It doesn't feel like a home or anything like that.
Yeah.
They poured their hearts into creating this phenomenal studio. So it's just like this amazing, engineering side where they have all the gear that you would need for any theater production, or movie production. And then there's a fantastic vocal booth in the back. I think instrumentalists could have come there and recorded things too. So it was just like it's a full studio, and it's one of the, it's like a holy grail for me when I go there. And like right outside, there's this beautiful Steinway piano, that's like double mic'd, and it goes straight into the studio. It's beautiful. I love going there.
and then the songs that you recorded were around 2015, 2016. Ish, right? And that was the time when he still had the Bentley, didn't he?
I think.
Yeah.
I think I came in after the Bentley.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it. It may have been there, but I don't remember seeing the Bentley.
Right.
Yeah. I think I've only heard about it. Yeah, I haven't seen the car, or I hadn't seen the car.
Great. And any off the record conversations at all with Sir, apart from your intention to jump into music full time, and which we discussed already, but is there anything else? Did he crack a joke, or we know that he's got an insane sense of humor?
He has a fantastic sense of humor. So besides the studio recording, I was also lucky enough to perform with him once in Chennai, and once in San Francisco, and once in Vegas. These were private shows in the US.
Yeah.
My most favorite memory was it's not that he was cracking any inside joke, but we were on stage. I was singing Chaya Chaya with him. I played the part of Sundarji, like, he wasn't there, so I had to take on all those lines, and he and I were going back and forth with each of the lines, and it was a surreal experience for me to to be that collaborator role, or be part of that collaborator role, where I was standing over here and he was standing over here, and we were able to, like, without cueing each other, look at each other and know when, like, he wanted to sing a part of the line and I wanted to sing a part of the line. And it just, although it's not an inside joke or anything that he cracked, that connection that I felt with him at that time, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to explain that to, I mean, more so than I did now, I guess. But, like, that feeling was so incredible. It's just,
For sure.
anyone who, it doesn't even have to be music, right? When you connect with someone with whatever it is that you're working on, and you just know how to coordinate with each other just with eye contact and like knowing what's about to go next, that was just an incredible feeling. So I think that was amongst everything, probably the most favorite of my memories so far.
So good, love it. And now that you're fully into your music, has there been any learnings that you took away with your collaborations with Sir? Like, more from, it could be in any phase of a life cycle of your project, let's say music production, or could be anything. Is there any key takeaway at all?
Yeah, sorry about the disturbance. When he has an idea, he will do his best to make sure that the idea is captured in some way, either on a voice note or like go and produce a song, whatever it is, immediately. And that's something that I find truly intriguing. Like, there's some like, for me at least, I think I get the best ideas in the shower, because that's some sort of like peaceful moment for me, I think.
I can relate.
And when I get those ideas, I have to make sure that either like keep repeating it, and as soon as I get out of the shower, record it on my phone, and then as quickly as possible come up to the studio and start working the idea out, because I don't want to call it divine intervention, but there is some form of spirituality in every song that you make, which I truly believe in. And there is a reason why you think about certain things, or why a certain idea comes at a certain point in time. And you have to strike the iron while it's hot. I think that's the phrase. You have to strike the iron while it's hot, and make sure that you try your best to expand on the idea. You might discard it 5 minutes from now, an hour from now, a day from, whatever it is, but to me, the fact that I tried the idea, even if it doesn't work, is very satisfying. So that's one thing that I definitely took away from him. And the same thing is obviously to make people feel comfortable. And not that I have any sort of notoriety to say, oh, you do know who I am or whatever it is, but what I took from that is make sure that you act as a collaborator yourself, regardless of who you work with. So, I mean, I work with this person, Andrew Dawson, who's a multi-Grammy winner, and he's worked with a whole bunch of people. But even he does the same thing, and that just sort of like solidified that thought. It doesn't matter how big you are. The fact is that everyone who comes together for a certain project is in it for the same reason, to make a fantastic product. So there is no point in like having ego in the way, and, any of those things. Just like move all those away, put that away in the next room, whatever it is, and make sure that you bring all of your creative ideas to the table, and you allow others to collaborate with you. So I think those are the two biggest takeaways for how he works that I've definitely applied to every facet of not just music, but every facet of my life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, I was actually just about to ask you, how has it had an impact in your non-music life per se, and then you just answered it, because it makes a difference, right? I mean, even for me, I mean, every little interaction that I've had with Sir, and the ones that I have with him, there's always something to get inspired, and then whatever he says is very deep and it gets you thinking.
Yeah. You never, like, he can joke around and also say something so interesting and deep at the same moment that it almost takes you a full minute to understand what's happening, and then you realize what just happened, and then you figure out that this man regardless of the amount of projects that he's working on and the amount of commitments or whatever it is, still has the headspace to be clear in his thought and have the ability to put ideas onto paper, whatever the form of paper is, put those ideas down as quickly as possible and still be clear in his thought. So I think that's something that a lot of people spend their entire lifetimes trying to achieve. And the fact that he has the ability to do that is no words for that. Yeah.
So amazing. And now that you're here, as in this stage of your life, with music being your complete passion, and then whilst other things are part-time, what do your parents have to say?
They support me and they want to see me succeed, and just that in itself is a huge feat for a lot of parents. Because this is scary. Like, it's scary for myself, so why wouldn't my parents be scared, right?
Yeah.
So of course they're nervous, of course they're scared, and I'm not 14 or 16 trying to put myself into the music industry. There's plenty of people who are more talented than me, who are clawing their ways to make sure that their voice is heard or their creative ideas are heard and are shared with the world. So like Spotify, I'll give you an example. Before the pandemic, released 40,000 new singles every day. That's before the pandemic. So my battle for my one single that comes out once a month is probably close to 60,000 singles a day.
Yeah.
So it's of course natural for my parents or my family to be nervous about, what the future lays ahead. But the fact that they've given me the freedom to make my choice and dive deep into exploring this to its fullest extent, whatever the result may be, I don't think I can ask for anything else.
So good. Amazing. And have you set a goal for yourself, or some sort of a timeline saying, okay, by 2023 I want to be here, things like that? It doesn't have to be, I'm just asking, that's all.
Yeah, I mean,
or are you a goals driven person? That's probably what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah. I think in the very beginning, 3 years ago, when I said I'm going to give myself 6 months to write this album, it'll be great, and I'll do albums 2 and 3 for the next 6 months after that. I think it's also part of that journey where you realize that if you put yourself to a certain time constraint, you are setting up yourself for failure. Not that I'm not realistic about things or whatever it is. I don't know what lies ahead for me. I believe in the music that I'm working on, and I'm super excited that I'm already working on chapters 2 through 13 already. So it's truly fantastic. But I'm goals driven and goals oriented, but I also have learned my lesson in knowing that some things just take time, and you have to keep at it, and it will click. And getting myself to that stage of thinking took a while, and I could not have done it without the support of my wife, support of my family, and just honestly, like, them constantly telling me that this is going to take some time, and you just have to keep going, and you just have to keep at it. And kudos to my wife, because so many times where I want to just break down and say, like, am I doing the right thing? But she keeps me up, and she's like, you've already done so much, you just got to keep going. And you can't ask for more than that. Just the support of your family and having them realize that this is not a traditional path, and the path that others have taken, while they're completely different, it's just my journey is different, but the end goal will be the same. At the end, we will all still be happy. We'll attain happiness, whatever that means. But it's just I'm like this. It's not a straight path. You gotta go like this for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure, buddy. I mean, I'm sure you're going to achieve a lot of things, and which you are already. And I'm a huge fan of your voice. I have absolutely loved it, and in fact, I still remember when when your name came up in the credits list for the first time on Sir's soundtrack. I looked you up then, and then I was like, okay, why hasn't he sung other songs? And so I always look for, and I'm so glad that you worked with him on I as well, and then Pele. So I absolutely loved it. And there's also one more track that I loved it so much, and that's by Indian Raga. Shape of You. I loved it like crazy, man. And there was something magical about it, especially your part. And probably it's the uniqueness of your voice. Whatever that was, it just created magic. Anything you want to share about that track?
Yeah, it was an idea in the bathroom. I was in the shower, man. And Ed Sheeran's track had just come on, and I was listening to the song while taking a shower, and I started to put swarams to it. And I'm like, this is weird. What if we did a Carnatic version of this song? And at the time, I'm like, I've been wanting to work with Indian Raga for a while, so let me at least pitch this idea to them and see what happens. And I did, and Sriram, who's the CEO of the company, and he's like, yeah, let's try it. There's no harm in trying it. So Vinod came on board, Sriram was on board, Mahesh was on board, and again, completely remote operation. I was in Los Angeles, Vinod was in Minneapolis, and
Mahesh in India.
Mahesh was in Dubai at the time. And Mahesh produced the song. He sent us the music bed. Vinod sent over some ideas for Swarams. I added my ideas onto the same project file, and then I think we went back and forth for about a month to get to that final track.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, we have a final track, but everyone's everywhere. How are we going to do this video?
Yeah.
So we said, let's just try recording remotely and then have someone stitch it together to make it feel like we're all in the same place. Again, we're all in different places. I had to go to New York for a work project, so in between all of that stuff, I also just went to Brooklyn to record the music video for this. So I recorded myself in Brooklyn, and Vinod in Minneapolis, and Mahesh in Dubai, and we had a guy in Chennai stitch all those together into a video. And I was like, okay, this is a cool project. Let's see what happens. And we release it, and I did not expect that to happen. Just didn't. It's to this day. I still get calls and messages and saying, hey, we loved you on Shape of You, and we loved you on Mohini track from a decade ago. Would you be interested in working with us, or coming down for this concert and whatever it is? So there's and obviously, like, I had the opportunity to sing and perform in front of 50,000 people at a stadium in Houston for Howdy Modi.
Yeah.
And that was a true honor. But yeah, it's just, that track was, I would say, unexpected. Like, I did not expect. Same thing with Manmohini. Like, I just, see, this is what happens. Like, the tracks that you love and you create and you put it out there just because you believe in it and didn't expect anything out of it, did phenomenally well.
True.
Every time you try to, like, okay, can I, sing this and that, it may not work. It probably, it could work, but it may not work. But I think for me, it's very clear when I pour my heart into something and it resonates, versus trying something just for the heck of it.
Amazing.
But yeah.
So good. I love it. Yeah, I remember playing it very recently as well, and I actually go play the video itself because I actually quite like the video too. So it's well done, man. I love it. Dude, coming towards the end of the podcast.
Wow.
I'm not sure if you're aware. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, and
no, I was not aware. Holy cow! Wow.
I still have so many things to talk about, but I'm going to bring you back again, say part 2 of the podcast, because I want to deep dive into so many other aspects of your journey. Put it that way. Just more about getting inspired. That's the intent. and but I'll do that very soon. But before I let you go, is there a message that you want to share to Sir via this podcast? Or if you wanted to sing, to dedicate something for him, choice is yours.
Yeah. Sir.
Or even both.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard this by so many different people, sir, but you have been a very integral part of who I am as a human being today. And I can't thank you enough for what you've created and shared with the world. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me to collaborate with you in some of those projects that you've shared with the world. And genuinely. Yeah, I'm not able to put my thoughts together on this, but I think he knows how I feel right now.
I'm sure.
Hey, what are your favorite songs? I'll ask you, and shake this up. What is your favorite Tamil song, Hindi song, Malayalam song? I know he hasn't done anything recently, but he will be. But what are your favorites? Yeah.
This is a tricky one, man, because I'm not sure if you know. I mean, I only listen to Sir's music. 99% is just Sir's music. It has been all the time like this, and only since the last year and a half or 2 years since the podcast started, I've started to open up. The likes of yourselves and so many other guests who came on board, and I've started to open up and started to appreciate non-ARR tracks too. So I'm getting exposed to the other side of the world. But however, predominantly 99% it's Sir's tracks. Now coming back to your question, I mean, it's very hard for me to pick my favorite tracks.
I know.
But
yeah, it's actually the worst question. It's actually the worst question asked. So if you don't want to answer it, I totally understand.
There are a number of tracks that comes to my mind. I mean, Khwaja Mere Khwaja is number one. I mean, I could always go to that anytime, and when I hit rock bottom and things like that, and I always listen to that. It uplifts me. When I talk about uplifting, I think Chale Chalo is another track for me. It keeps me going, especially when I'm into running and things like that, bike riding. So it gets my heart rate pumping. That one, and then Dil Se Re. That's great. That's a great track, I'm sure. Showkali. I'm not saying this because you're here. But this particular track, it really went in a loop for about 2 weeks or something when it first released. I still remember because it got me hooked, and it's a phenomenal track.
Yeah, it's tuned to like this trance where you don't know what happened at the end of the track, and you have to repeat it because you have to find out what just happened. I totally empathize with you.
And what's the other track? In his recent release, Raid Zarasi from Atrangire. Have you heard that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And also Tumhe Mohabbat. Yeah. What do you think of the recent releases? Okay, let me put it this way before we wrap up. You obviously worked with 2015, 2016, 2017. So those 3 years, right? And then how do you see how has his music evolved into 2022?
Yeah, I think he is so curious about the world, and he is so curious about understanding. Or rather, he has such a good pulse on not even just the current trends, but what he thinks or feels maybe the upcoming next trend in music. That's the best part about him, because every single song in every single album explores so many different genres. I am sure that if Spotify and Apple had the job of trying to categorize who he is, like putting him into genres, it would be like select all, because he's done everything. He's gone from a operatic ballad all the way to a rap song to a Qawwali track, and it's so hard to put a label to the type of music that he does, and I think that is also one of the reasons why my music is so varied. My own music is so varied because I find it very difficult in any track that I listen to of my own to try to say, okay, this is a straight R&B song or this is a straight electronic funk song, because underneath you might hear a sitar, or you might hear a mridangam coming from the left, or you might hear a chenda coming from the right. So it's so I can't even imagine, like, if it's hard enough for me to categorize my 12 songs that are out so far on on digital media platforms, I have no idea how the other guys can do it. But coming back to your point, I think he definitely has a pulse on what's happening and what will/may happen in the upcoming future. So his music has evolved to that extent, and he's showcasing what's next, as he always has. And that's what you have to appreciate about that.
So amazing. Yeah, for sure. Dude, it's been so amazing to have you on this podcast, dude. I absolutely loved it, and it has been, more than anything else, it has been inspirational. That's how I'd like to put it, because it's not easy to be on the other side of this monitor and pursuing your passion, and then looking at the bigger picture and staying positive in the current times that we are in, or the ones even worse times that we have just been. It's phenomenal, man. It's not easy. I don't think I could ever fit in your shoes. So I have a lot of respect for you with what you do, and staying positive, and then just amazing with all the cool stuff that you're putting out. I absolutely loved your Thrills track. I loved it. So good, man. Yeah.
I love it. There's a new track which I'm working on. Actually, I'll tell you for the first time in the world, I guess. It's called Midnight Space Flight.
Right.
It's very electronic dance, sort of funky, and I can't wait for the world to listen to it. It'll probably come out in March.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the works, and I can't wait to hear your opinion about it.
For sure.
And thank you so much for having me. This is such a cool podcast to be a part of, and for me, it took a lot of time for me to be able to talk about myself so freely, because there was a lot of times when I had that wall where it's just like, what will others think of me? This is who I am, and this is what I'm going through, and hopefully there are others, not hopefully, but if there are others out there who can connect with the emotions or whatever it is that I'm going through, music or otherwise, I think that's, I've done my job by just being open with, the things that I'm going through.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about myself and the things that I'm going through. So it's been great, man. Thank you.
And I have to thank you for giving me the opportunity to hear you speak. And I get very inspired when I hear stories like this, and it's just it drives me. I stay positive, and then start this kind of reflects, like, when I'm leading my daily life, it kind of it resonates sometimes, where, oh yeah, you know what, Adi said this, I should probably try and apply this in my daily life, and things like that. I try to draw inspiration with the people that I meet, I speak. I am looking forward to meeting you in person when I travel to the US, or when you travel here to Down Under. Yes, and definitely would love to catch up. And dude, thanks once again. And so actually, before I let you go, so as part of this journey, right, all the Sirs fans connected with me, and we now have what's called this I Love ARR community. People from all parts of the world are connected, and then it's a very cool network that we have got right now. And there are heaps and heaps of aspiring musicians in the community, and people are kind of on the wall, just wondering whether they should really jump on the other side to plunge into music and make that as a career. Just wondering, is there a message that you would like to share for those people, or the aspiring ones? Anything that you might want to share?
Yeah, it's always easy to explore your passions for fun. The second you think about that passion as a full-time career or a job. The second you start making music for that purpose, it's a lot harder. So don't let go of the fact that this is your passion, and pour your heart into everything you're working on. Everything else will come. Like, I know that's super high level thinking, and I'm saying, you know, all will be well. But if I've learned anything over the last 3 or so years, it's that you have to continue to be genuine to yourself, and you have to record and do the work because you love to do it, not because you need to write and you need to produce and you need to sing something and push it out there. You know, yes, of course I put a vow to say I'm going to record one song a month record, produce, and release one song every month this year. But that's because I'm excited to do that. Not because I've challenged myself to say, oh my God, I have 12 projects to do for the rest of the year. Of course it gets challenging at times, but I'm doing what I'm doing now because I love doing it.
Yeah.
Of course, this has become, full time, and you have to worry about a whole bunch of stuff. But at the core, if you stay true to yourself and focus on the art, you will at least be happy. I genuinely think the rest will follow. But what do I know, right? I'm going through this too, so maybe my message will be more clear in a year or so. Who knows?
Amazing. I love it, dude. Dude, thank you so much.